actually going to talk about whether you should buy a rooftop tent or you should build a rooftop tent. We have experience with a DIY rooftop tent before we got this Kings Kwicky, and there's a few things that you have to kind of look out for and make sure that you have set. Alright, so the first, when you make a rooftop tent, is that it is number one, waterproof, and number two is windproof. Okay, so I'll show you a couple of clips, but our rooftop tent basically was a Kings double deluxe swag that we converted using a sewing machine from one of my dad's friends, and it was modified so it flips up like that, and it was really great. There was a lot of space inside that tent, but we ran into a lot of trouble when there was torrential rain, and also just traveling on the road, we didn't have a proper cover, so we used a tonneau cover that was for a ute, and it was just very troublesome to set it up when we got to the campsite and that kind of thing.
And are listening to that jackass bray.
So guys, one of the benefits I would say of building your own rooftop tent is actually the price point. If you go on the market, you can search up, you can search up a new Kings Kwicky, which is, I think, is $1,200, and then they have the Grand Adventure Tourer Kings as well, which is like a hinge design tent, and I think that's over $2,500 or $2,300. So there was a huge price point compared to if you were to build your own tent. Our swag tent, our swag rooftop tent that we made was actually, I think we spent $200 all up, because we bought a used swag and then we had to modify it a bit and pay for that. So it was $50 plus I think $130 second hand Kings deluxe swag. So that all comes around to maybe $170, $180 there. We bought this tent here, which was used, this Kings Kwicky, for $500, and that's way less than if you were to buy it new. But the thing is, it is used. So as everyone already knows on the internet, these aren't made awesomely. Like, there's cracks on the back and on the edges of the tent that I need to repair later on. So look, you're paying for what you get with secondhand rooftop tents, but we found that this is so much better just traveling, because it's so much more convenient and easy knowing that there's no wind that's going to get into the tent and flip it over as you would if you were to make a DIY rooftop tent. And I will just premise as well, depending on how well you design your rooftop tent, you won't have those problems. So I think our design probably wasn't the best design because we didn't have a proper cover and that kind of thing. But yeah, just something to actually like look at. So another thing I would say, guys, is you have to look at weight. Our DIY tent that we made from a swag was actually really light. I think it came in at about less than 30 kilograms all up, and that's because we didn't really have a bottom for it, so it just basically rested in our rack, so there was no bottom frame for that. In terms of the aluminium poles, they weren't heavy at all, like maybe 10 kg worth of aluminium weight there. Weight difference, so this tent that we bought secondhand, the Kings Kwicky, weighs 70 kilograms. Okay, that's actually quite a lot of weight. If you're going to do four-wheel driving and that kind of stuff, it's in a narrower car like we have, it's not so good. The wider cars will handle weights that are heavier on the roof, but if you have a Prado or I don't know, maybe a Pajero, having heavier things on the roof is not so good for four-wheel driving, because it's basically like... Hey guys, so my audio cut out here for some reason, but basically I was explaining that the more top heavy you are, the more sway you have in your vehicle, and that's especially I guess dangerous if you're going over, you know, big rocks and big boulders, because you will have that uneasiness and that unlevelness in your car, and the center of gravity will be basically a little bit higher rather than lower if you're going through those really steep rocky terrains. Alright guys, so this one basically, if you're DIYing and building your rooftop tent, the better the design, the easier it is to set up. So for us, our design was the best, I would say, because we had to basically modify the tent in a way that it was going to fit on our roof. So we had to cut some of the width off and that kind of thing, and it actually made it really long to set up sometimes. And those nights when you rock up in a campsite and it's really, really late, it's so annoying to set up a tent like that. So what we found, and we haven't really used this tent yet, but literally it takes less than 5 minutes to just pop up each side of the tent and pull it up so those gas struts lift it up, and it's 10 times easier, it's 10 times more convenient. So you can really enjoy yourself more if you have a very easy setup. So yeah, that's just another thing to mention. Alright guys, so this is just a bit of a conclusion. Thanks for watching. I hope what I've given you today can help you in your decision if you're going to buy or build your own rooftop tent. But yeah guys, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.
I don't know what you mean, Miss Elsa.